Now the power outage numbers stand at more than 100,000 people without power across our state. More than 100,000. The primary areas affected are, of course, near the coast. And to just give you an idea of how significant this flooding is that we are seeing down near the coast already, a TV station in New Bern is seeing flooding.
The situation has developed here that our building had to be evacuated and everybody was asked to leave immediately.
Drone footage shows parts of what New Bern that have been submerged now by a massive surge of water when Florence made landfall. Hundreds were suddenly stranded in their homes, and Chris Van Cleve remains there tonight.
The City of New Bern has never had a resiliency plan, so this is our first time putting something together that comprehensively looks at New Bern, looks at the environment, and looks at how things are changing in the future and how we can better prepare for them. People have their own threshold for decision making, so this gives us more knowledge, research, and a roadmap for making those kinds of decisions, educating our community, and then both of us working together to build a stronger New Bern.
Throughout my career, I've been through a lot of storms, but nothing compared to what Florence brought. Typically, when we'd have a storm, we'd have a lot of debris, trees down, power outages. So we were clearing streets and typically stuff like that. But with Florence, it was bringing a new perspective because of the quick moving water that came in. And it brought us about a new situation to deal with water. We had never dealt with that much water. And it wasn't a certain area of town, it's all over town. During the heat of the storm, for about 70 to 80 hours, we were rescuing folks. We rescued over 700 people. And some of the things that we were hearing back from our crews out there was the high winds, high water, and things, fast-moving water into places where they couldn't even get into places. So it was very devastating for us.
Well, when you look at science tells us the Earth has been around for 4.6 billion years. Problem is, though, is that over the last 40 to 50 years, we've got so much more of a population buildup along the east coast of the United States, and especially here in eastern North Carolina. So as a result, we're doing more building into areas that years prior, now it can't absorb that water into the soil because we're putting houses and blacktop and buildings on that. So we need to develop a resilience plan to be able to combat that. So we've got to figure out how to be able to manage that water and manage the dangers and damages that water can cause along our great waterfront community here.
We've spent 2 or 3 years gathering public feedback from folks who've told us about the experiences they had during Florence and in past hurricanes, but also experiences from maybe where they moved here from. So we've had a lot of thought go into this plan. We've also had our consultants do a tremendous amount of research about what is New Bern's environment? What makes our topography so susceptible to tropical activity? And we're looking at things a lot more comprehensively. It's not just about whether you live on the river or if you live downtown. Florence was the kind of thing that affected everyone in some way. We had so many people from across the nation who came here after that storm to help us. And those are the kinds of things that we realized we need a strategy for. We appreciated that help, but if we need it again, how do we do that more efficiently? But New Bern was not a beautiful place to be in the months and years following Florence. In fact, there are still people today recovering from that storm.
Anytime you can get facets to work together, it's a partnership. I'm from the school of thought that all hands on deck. One of the things that I learned at a very early age is to be able to use every tool in the toolbox. As long as we continue to build partnerships where people are working in the right direction with the right mind and the right heart, I'm a firm believer that we'll have the success that not only for New Bern, but to be an example for other communities that will go through what we went through. We can be that shining light and example to show them what could be done because we have done it here.
CCDRA, Craven County Disaster Recovery Alliance, was formed after Hurricane Matthew, when a group of concerned citizens and community members from the faith-based organizations and churches and nonprofits, government entities came together and formed a long-term recovery group for Craven County. We work with clients that have been affected by disaster through case management. We handle volunteer management, where we bring volunteers from across the country to stay at our volunteer village that's across the street and work on homes.
You know, we have Alliance in our name because we know we're not the only answer. We know no agency or any person is the only answer to recovery. It takes the entire village. It takes community members, it takes community organizations and businesses. And with this resiliency plan, that kind of it meets that model that we look at of bringing everybody together. This is how we're going to get it through it together, not one person individually or one agency, but everyone together, and that's kind of what this plan does. One thing that we love is in this resiliency plan, it does focus on health and safety. So agencies like CCDRA, like Trillium, and those agencies that have that mental health piece built into their programs as well, have their safety built in. So we'll do, aging in place, we'll do emergency repairs to make their house safe until we can do the bulk of the repairs. That's in this resiliency plan with these agencies, and that's a really key point of recovery. The biggest obstacle that many agencies in disaster face, especially this far out from a storm, is sustainability, funding. Right after a storm, there's millions of dollars that go into the communities and agencies to keep them going and do this recovery piece. But 4 years after the storm, those are dried up. So, we are having to find all of these additional funds that no longer exist in order to stay open so we can be here for the community after the next one. So we're not trying to, put our agency back together after every storm. We want to stay open in those blue sky days to be able to help the communities.
Nobody want to plan that far ahead, but it's really not planning for a disaster. What it's planning for is for you to continue to live.
It's important for us to be here and for us to have that collaborative and to have the collaborative alliance to bring everybody around the table when another storm happens. By having all the partners come together really streamlines that process for recovery for the clients that have been affected by a disaster. They're dealing with so many different things, from emotional and spiritual care to help gathering documents to be prepared for the next storm. We also help with disaster preparedness. So really that streamlining and bringing everybody together is the greatest piece to resiliency.
It's going to help us not lose any lives. It's going to help us thrive because people want to move where they know people are planning. People want to move where they know people are progressing.
I think what we hope for out of this is the community will partner with us. Whether you've lived here a long time and seen lots of storms, or you're just getting to know our beautiful city, that you'll hand in hand with us, bring your lessons learned, bring your experiences. I mean, we're all learning, right? So let's learn together how to build a more resilient community that can withstand and even overcome disasters much more quickly. I think we'll all be happier for it.